second to meet my dog. Okay, everybody. So, hello. This is Ryan with the Harvey Historical Society and my YouTube, Ryan's Bay Chicago, and also Chicago Southland Politics. So today we are with a gentleman who is running for trustee in Flossmoor. Would you like to tell us who you are?
Hello, I'm Troy Holmes. I'm running for trustee here in Flossmoor.
Okay, Troy. So tell us what brought you to Flossmoor, first of all. We'll start with that.
Well, definitely what brought us here were some of the biggest assets that we have here as a community, which are our schools and definitely the safety record. Both of those things attracted me to here. Flossmoor was always the dream. We knew that we would made it when we moved here. So it was always the dream, and when the time came that we could move here, we looked at probably 30 different homes over the course of a year and a half, and finally settled on this one. But yeah, it was definitely those schools. We've got a 10-year-old in fourth grade right now, and the safety record. We came from the city, from a very nice area of the city, but the safety was going down. My son's school went on lockdown twice because of shootings nearby. They dropped music from his whole curriculum. It just wasn't cutting it where we were, and so Flossmoor was always that dream, and we were fortunate enough to find a place that we could afford, and here in the beautiful Ballantyre neighborhood.
Oh, okay, wonderful. And what inspired you, or what made you want to run for trustee?
Well, I saw an open seat, and I think my record speaks for itself as far as my qualifications. I worked for 14 years as a corporate officer for a family office over all of their investments, and I was the one sitting at the table with these municipalities when we were selling land and water companies and dealing with municipalities with some of these large real estate projects that we had. So I'd always sat at that table, and I worked for a good one, but I saw that there were people trying to come into municipalities, especially businesses, that were not good. And I saw that. And so because I love Flossmoor so much, I saw an open seat, and I wanted to be able to sit at that table so I could protect the great village that has welcomed my family and I with open arms.
Oh, could you remind us how many seats are open and how many people are running?
There are 3 seats and 7 people running.
Okay. Okay. So that's similar to my school board run.
Yes.
We have 7 people running for 4 seats. I know you've already said some of the great things about Flossmoor, which most of you, if you're familiar with the Southland, you know Homewood and Flossmoor are known for their schools, parks, high level of city services. They're not really known like Harvey and some of our other villages for corruption, which is good. But what things do you want to change, or do you see as things that really need to change in order for Flossmoor to continue to be successful?
Well, from what I saw, they already were changing. So we are now open for business here in Flossmoor. We have moved beyond this bedroom community, and we're very open to businesses. And so that's definitely where I saw my strong points could be really well for the village, is my business sense and knowing these businesses. But at the same time, because of what I've done, I can see that we've got to make sure that these businesses have a few things. One, an infrastructure plan. We've got to make sure that these parking lots and so forth are well designed and something that could fit here in Flossmoor. So they're going to be building on land that has never been built on before. And we've also got to make sure that they have an environmental plan in place, because we're a green city here in Flossmoor. We really appreciate our green spaces, and we've got to make sure that they have some sort of plan in place. We've dealt with infrastructure issues with water and so forth. So again, these businesses that are going in there, we have to make sure that they're doing it in a responsible manner. So that's definitely where I saw not only where I want to see a change, but where I've seen the change happen. And I just want to be a part of that for sure.
And that since you're speaking of green, space and infrastructure and everything, I know one project that we discussed was the Heather Hill retention pond, I think, or
Correct. The
project.
detention basin,
And
yes.
we have had many issues in Harvey with fighting a project that the mayor and the MWRD conceived of without consulting the residents at all. And unfortunately, it's still ongoing, where they actually displaced residents from their longtime homes to put in a retention pond under the guise of flood relief. Now, I know in Flossmoor, this project was not that bad as far as, controversial. No one was losing their homes, but
No one
still,
lost their homes, but
right. But I still heard a lot of things and saw things on Facebook where people were complaining, and it just seemed like maybe it was rushed through. So what do you think are some lessons that you guys could learn from that you could, if if you're elected, that you could make sure that if we have projects like this in the future in Flossmoor, what can the village do to make sure that residents are being consulted from the ground up?
right. So if you look behind me, I live behind a basin myself. That's my backyard. They're crucial parts of any infrastructure plan, especially here in Flossmoor. I don't want to see residents going on a boat to get to their home. There are also, with the downtown viaduct, there are issues with flooding, okay? So not only is that a main thoroughfare for people to get to schools and work and so forth, but we have to make sure that that space is clear for our emergency vehicles. So it's a safety issue too.
And that's
So
been an issue for years, I know.
exactly.
A sticking point for residents.
And right now, we are in a different time. We are dealing with climate change. So these 50, 100-year storms, they're happening back to back to back. And so these basins are a crucial part of any infrastructure plan. They are. We need them here. What I have been hearing from residents of Heather Hill and the parents of the students of the Heather Hill School where the basin went in, it's maybe not that the communication wasn't there. They were communicating. It just seemed rushed at the end. So it seemed rushed to get to, so that we could take care of this grant that we had a time limit on. The residents feel that, and the parents of the students, the village came to them with a plan that was already set in place. Now, where's some things that we can do going forward? Because again, these are crucial parts of any infrastructure plan. We can do a thing what I call is smart communication. So that's getting the residents involved from the early onset so that residents feel that they are part of the solution, that they are part of this plan. And there's a whole host of ways you can do that. One definitely are targeted meetings. I felt, and what I've heard from residents, is that there were no targeted meetings. These are people that live right there or that utilize that park on a daily basis. What I'm getting a sense from those residents is that they were not involved in the planning process at the beginning. So I think that's just a way that we can, like you said, look forward to the future and say, again, we're going to have more infrastructure projects in this town. So what is a way that we can do this? Smart communication. And that, I definitely feel that the village has seen that and knows that going forward, that
now,
sometimes
what does
with
that mean
these...
exactly? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah.
Is that like sending more mailers to people, or is it using some electronic texting service? I know some towns do that. Or like, what do you think would be the best way to get people to know about and come to the meetings?
Yeah, and what I'm going to get at is what I'm just hearing from the residents that I've talked to in the Heather Hill neighborhood and the parents of the students. Maybe not just mailers, but they also had when you say that there's going to be a village board meeting, or there were village board meetings on that, we have working parents with children who are full-time jobs as well, with their sports and school and everything. It extremely hard for some of these parents to get to some of these meetings.
Mm.
So definitely a more targeted approach and smart communication. What I'm saying is from the early onset, making sure that the residents are involved in the planning process. What I'm getting a sense from them was that it was told to them instead of getting them involved in the process.
So maybe even if they can't come to all the meetings, at least sending out some surveys, or saying, here, you can email this person. Or so it sounds like you're saying giving Flossmoor residents multiple ways to participate.
Definitely, you've got to do it different ways. I mean, we're busy. Both parents are working, and like I said, the kids are full-time jobs as well.
Right, and that's an issue in so many communities I see. Just to get people to come out to any city meetings can be difficult, and so that's something that's one reason why we're doing these interviews, and why I want to get people excited about local politics, because it does affect our lives so much.
They are crucial. Local elections matter the most. They really do.
And that's another thing I'm encouraging people throughout this series, is that if you are frustrated, let's say with national politics or state politics or what have you, a lot of times it's hard to really feel like I can't reach out and touch national or state politics very easily. But locally, I can run for something. I can support someone who's running for something. I can go to meetings. I can ask questions. Like you said, I can even if I'm really busy, I can send emails. There's so much we can do. So if you have frustrations or angers or whatever, or anger that towards what's going on, this is a great way. Get involved locally, because not only does the local stuff affect all of us more, but it's a way that you can reach out and touch, and you can have an effect on things. Because what we don't want is for mass sort of despair and frustration with things in the media to take place, where that people withdraw and say, well, it's all predetermined and all politicians are corrupt and I can't make a difference. Because that's not true.
It's not.
It's just not true. But I do understand for a lot of us that even though we feel like we want to affect what we see on TV, which is often too much, like I said, the national and the state, we have a lot we can do locally. So I applaud you for at least putting yourself out there, and the other people that are trying to run for these positions.
Thank you. It's very important. I brought this up at a forum that I did recently. One of the residents asked, well, how do I get my voice heard, basically? I'm paraphrasing
that's
here,
a great
but
question.
it's how do I get right now? This is the chance that you all get to say your voice, and that is by voting. If we don't get out the vote, I mean, Flossmoor, I think, is a little bit higher than some of the other Southland neighborhoods. I think we're like 18 to 20% voter turnout and so forth.
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah.
Okay. So it's definitely a little bit higher. It's not high enough for me unless it's 100%.
Right.
It's not high enough for me unless it's 100%.
I agree.
I am a huge advocate for making sure we get out the vote. It's definitely, during the GEM, we have the GEM marathon here. I had a get out the vote table right at my corner over there to register voters that came out, because I think that's huge. Again, this is the time to get your voice out. This is the time that only you get to be heard, that you get to get your vote out there for someone.
Right, absolutely. I was going to say, I saw your husband too. If he wants to come, he's welcome to come in.
I'm sure he would.
I wanted to ask you, so don't hide. You can come, say hello if you're there. What was I going to ask? Oh, yeah, so another big issue for Flossmoor, I'm not a huge Flossmoor expert, but I did teach at Parker for some time, so I know you're not running for school board, but that's another race that I really hope that there's some good folks for 161. But relating to the issue with the police chief, I saw a lot of complaints online where I believe Mayor Michelle let him go or something. Was that correct? He was fired or something, so he's no longer working for Flossmoor?
So here's the deal. So you're talking about Chief Jones. He was our police chief for about 9 months here in Flossmoor. We did a national campaign to try and find the best of the best, okay? And they had some great candidates. Chief Jones, from what I've been told by the village board and the village manager and the mayor, is that he showed great potential, and would be a great fit for this town. from what I've been hearing from residents, is he had some really good community policing, getting involved in the community. From what I've been told, there were personnel issues. And those personnel files have not been released. They on either side. And so we don't know the full extent of what happened. And they have now settled, and he's gone on to work for another police department.
Oh, was there a lawsuit?
There was.
Okay.
There was.
He sued, and then they settled.
Correct, but they settled.
Okay.
And he's no longer with Flossmoor.
Mhm.
But that was, that definitely stuck out. It did not shine a good light on the city as a whole. And it was unfortunate to see the discourse in our town and the divisions that it ended up creating. But I don't think anyone on any side wanted to see him fail. And that was definitely a contentious issue here in the city.
Do you think that, some people said perhaps it was racially motivated and there was frustration with, well, why is a white mayor firing a black police chief for a town that's mostly black? Do you think there's any what would you say, any truth to that worry or that concern that it was some sort of racist issue? Or do you think, as you said, it was just maybe personnel issues that were not released to the public, and that it's just something else that one would hope, right, from at least the public image of Holmes and Flossmoor, that would not be the case, that they wouldn't be hiring someone because of racism. But I do know I saw a lot of people asking that, and some people were insisting that. So I don't know what your take is on that, but what do you think?
I don't think you can bring that up without talking about a race factor, but I don't think that there was racism at the heart of what anyone did. Now, here's where you do need to bring it up, is that he was the first black police chief for this town, where the last census, I believe it was like 64% of our population is black, and I think another 14% is mixed race. So we're a town of majority black residents. So to bring it up and not talk about race would probably do a disservice to the village as a whole. But I don't think that any of the decisions that were made were based in any sort of racism, for sure. I can, from what I have talked to all the parties at hand, definitely, I wouldn't say that in any way. The mayor has come out and said that if anyone was his advocate to make sure that they wanted him to succeed, it was her. But yeah, it was, I don't think that it was rooted in racism, but you can't not talk about race when you talk about this subject. So
right, especially as you said, because he was the first black police chief as well. So I'm sure a lot of people were disappointed because they're like, "Oh, this is a first for the village. Why is he gone so soon?"
Well, and then there was a big campaign for him. Again,
natural.
it wasn't just that he was the first. It was there was so much the lead up to it.
People. It sounds like people were very excited to have him.
Exactly. And I think it changed.
It is disappointing when something doesn't work out. It's like a new relationship. If you start dating someone and you get all hyped up and then you have a breakup. Even if maybe no one did anything wrong, there's still going to be, from the comments I saw online, it looked, there was some heartbreak for sure. There was some people's feelings were very, why is this man leaving us so soon?
Now, I will say, we did just hire our new police chief.
Oh, okay, good.
Mr. Carl Estelle, Police Chief Carl Estelle. And I could not tell you how excited I am. We are so fortunate to have him as our police chief here. His resume speaks for itself.
Where did he come from?
He came, so he was the village manager for Country Club Hills.
Oh, okay.
But he had a long, extensive career in California, in Los Angeles, as a police officer, and did some amazing work out there. I have talked to him. He has a great sense of community policing that I think that this town really has embraced. And I am totally excited for him. I couldn't be prouder of our village.
How long has he been serving now? Or was he just appointed?
So he was just appointed at the last village board meeting, but he's been working for us, I believe, about 6 to 9 months. I couldn't, don't quote me on that one, but
So he was just promoted.
as director of emergency management services, I believe. They had to create a position because they had to get his credentials from California translated over to Illinois, and
I see.
he worked very hard at getting that over because there's a lot of stuff he had to do to get that over, and a lot of work on his part. And so we were utilizing him in that sense, and now all the transfers have been made, and he's now our police chief.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Well, no, I'll definitely be curious to see how that develops. Now, regarding, since I'm a real estate agent as well, I used to teach, like I said, I used to teach French at Thornton and Harvey and at Parker as well, and a little bit of English, but also doing real estate. And I've just always been urban planning, nuts. And I'm huge on, walkable communities, etc. Downtown Flossmoor has always been a frustration of mine because seeing downtown Homewood grow and have new mixed-use developments, and not perfectly developing. There's always things I like to nitpick because I'm such an urban planning person. But overall, you seeing the growth in Homewood downtown, and then Flossmoor's downtown, just kind of a lot of turnover in the shops and stores, and just kind of stagnating. So, what is your vision for the downtown, particularly, like I said, for someone like me that's always gonna really push for walkability, sustainable development, getting away from car-centered developments? What is your vision for downtown Flossmoor?
Oh, I am so excited. So this summer, we're going to be revitalizing our downtown. We secured a grant, and we put some money, obviously, into it as well as the village, but we are going to revitalize our downtown, make it look really, really, really awesome. Something for this century. And once we do that, what my view would be is let's create a robust advertising campaign to make Flossmoor. Now, Flossmoor just got an award for Tourism Award for Southland. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and we're very proud of that. That's what we need to focus on for our downtown, is that tourism fact. I want people coming on the train, getting off, shopping, eating downtown, going to look at our sculpture park, taking a stroll, maybe just even sitting in downtown, going to the library, and then leaving. And then, not just leaving, but you know what I mean, just getting back on the train to go back home. Let's create Flossmoor as a tourist destination for Chicagoland. And I think we can do that. Now, you mentioned the businesses downtown. Small businesses are crucial to our village. They're crucial to any village. They're the ones that are donating to our baseball organizations. They're the ones that are really, a lot of them are residents here in Flossmoor. Yeah. So there has been definitely some turnover, but there's also staples downtown that will really be that have really worked hard at making sure that they remain there. And I champion them. But again, this tourism factor will get people, especially from outside Flossmoor as well, to come visit our downtown and do some shopping. Now, there's some new shops going in at Shops on Sterling. I love that, those small shops down there that maybe a smaller business could really, utilize. I know there's a balloon store going in soon, which I'm really excited about. Okay. I think that's great. But it's these businesses that we need and that we want. Now, the other part of downtown that we're revitalizing is that big open space there on Flossmoor Road. Just recently, we got in with two Flossmoor residents that are pretty big here in Southland with creating infrastructure and businesses. And they're going to revitalize that space into about 13 townhomes with a cafe as well.
Oh, so
So
there will be, it's mixed use. There's going to be something on the ground floor.
well, not no. So it's going to be townhomes around, and then I believe it will be on the one side from the renderings that I've seen
Oh,
is a
okay.
cafe of some sort. And we've got some prospects that I've
Oh,
heard
interesting.
of people
Okay.
already and excited about it. Um, Now here's what that does, and the vision that I see right there on Flossmoor Road is then we're creating a walking path. So we're creating a walking path that flows right into downtown and then flows right on in over into our sculpture park. It's a great walking path. It's been done in other municipalities around Chicagoland, and they've done it right, and that's what I believe that we're doing right down there. And I know that this revitalization of downtown is really going to set us apart and really bring in these tourism dollars for sure.
Oh, good. No, that I'm glad to hear that.
So come back. I promise you, it's going to be better. It's going to be better.
Yeah,
Come
because
on back.
there's a lot of potential. I've always seen a lot of potential in downtown Flossmoor. The other issue was, let's see, we talked about stores. Oh, and this partly relates to the businesses. So, what can the village do, or what could you do, if you're on the board, uh, to help businesses and residents with the property taxes? Because for Cook County and South Cook County in particular, the property taxes are so high, and it's just a lot of people are suffering. Is there anything that you guys can do to help provide relief? Now, certainly getting more residents and businesses helps because you expand your tax base. But other than that, is there anything that can think of to help?
Well, I'm going to give you, I'm an accountant for many years, and definitely involved in municipal elections and so forth, and very involved in my community. I've never seen a municipality decrease property taxes, but we are taxed out. We are at the max here, and that's what I'm hearing from so many residents, including myself. We're capped. We really can't even afford, as a community, really an increase in property taxes. So how do we, there's certain, how do we get more tax dollars? I know you had said businesses, but that's a big part of what is a part of my platform is making sure that we get these businesses in. I'll give you an example. Meyer. Before Meyer, our sales tax revenue annually was about $200,000. Put in Meyer, it went up to $1.2 million. 1 year. That's off of 400. That land cost us. All that land cost us $400,000 as a village. That thing paid for itself and then some in its first year. That's what we need to do. Building up that Volmer Road corridor, because that has got a 50,000 person reach. We are getting not only Flossmoor tax dollars, residents, spending their money there. We're getting all of the neighboring communities as well. And so building, and then 57 right there. You get off 57, you go right into Volmer, our corridor of businesses. That's what I see down there.
And what about the north side of Vollmer, on the Flossmoor side, because across
That's what I'm talking about,
is
yeah.
Olympia Field, but further east, and I'm forgetting, is that Kedzie there? But where you have the older businesses in that big plaza?
Right, Flossmoor Commons.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. That's the one. So is that, do you foresee, like, how could the village help get more businesses in there? What do you think?
Well, there's definitely a lot of turnover in Flossmoor Commons, but we've also got some staples down there too. I definitely see that as a focus for small businesses, but there's been some great restaurants that have gone in there, Corks and Creed, both great places, really good. And it's, again, attracting people from all over, not just Flossmoor. I definitely see keeping Flossmoor Commons probably more focused on the small business. I know there's a Subway in there now, which actually does pretty good. It's one of the Subway's best stores over in there. But again, building up that Volmer Road corridor, so going all the way from Meyer down to Flossmoor Commons, that's where we're just gonna have all the shopping, I think. And then we just need businesses that we want and that we need. I'm tired of going to Orland and Tinley for everything. We need to get some here that we need. And that's definitely a big part that I'm seeing from a lot of our residents. They want businesses that they want to shop at, for sure. Here. We do. We've been following it. It's awesome. It's awesome to see just what you're doing down here, seriously.
Well, I'm trying to get people excited about this local stuff. Right, babies? Say we need that.
We do need that.
That's the only way stuff's going to
That's another great thing about, I mean, if you think about for Flossmoor, 7 candidates running for 3 seats. We have that many people.
It's good that people are interested.
That are interested.
Well, at least running. Now, my concern, like you said, is that, here, come sit for me.
Go.
Can you show me how you sit? Sit. Good boy. My concern is the voter turnout. Because, you know, even with Dalton, with everything that happened, did you know voter turnout was only like 26%? So, I mean, I don't know of any more extreme attention you can get on local politics. So that worries me. That worries me.
It does worry me.
What is going on with people? Like, that they don't see voting as important.
Here's the thing, early voting. It's a big push for my campaign. Our election is the week of spring break for our children. I don't want people sitting on the beach, sipping their cocktail and thinking, oh, I forgot to vote. So early voting starts March 17th, and we need to get people out to early vote. That is going to be the decider of the election, is the early voting turnout.
I think you're right. I think you're right, too, in that, like, some of the election results that I and others were suspecting possible fraud, we noticed that the extra votes that put some people over the top that we're like, are often the absentee ballots. And that if you get better early voting numbers, then you're likely to overcome that. Like I said, now, whether or not those votes are fraudulent or not, we're just saying that that's one way to overcome that if you get a high turnout for early voting.
Another one that I'm pushing are college kids. So they are gone right now.
That's true.
And we need to make sure that they vote too.
Yeah, you should have a fair amount for Flossmoor.
Is for sure crucial to them. Definitely.
Stay tuned for part 2 of my interview with Troy Holmes, who's running for Flossmoor Village trustee, as his husband joins us.